told your friend you're not okay.
And today, that silence stems from a name that never fails to shift global culture, Jungkook, a man who has become the newest face of Chanel beauty, not as a visual ornament, but as a representation of the new spirit of a generation. This narrative begins not with a major news story, not with a media frenzy, and not with the usual trending frenzy that accompanies Jungkook's name. It's strange, yet thrilling. When news of Jungkook joining Chanel Beauty broke, the world didn't go wild as usual. There was no heated debate, no wild speculation, no skepticism soaring in public comment. Instead, there was silence, not empty, but calm. A silence that felt like universal agreement. A quiet, yet unmistakable reaction. Sure. That makes sense. That's how it should be. In the digital age, where everything is judged by how quickly news explodes, this silence is the most powerful validation. Because at some point, the world understood that there are moments that need no proof. There are collaborations that need no reason. There are meetings that were destined long ago, a subtle resonance between Jungkook and the Chanel beauty philosophy. Chanel, since its inception, has never competed on volume. It doesn't chase the spotlight, it doesn't chase noise. It offers something far more enduring, a way of being in the world. An elegance that isn't forced, a boldness that isn't rude, a sophistication that isn't distant. Chanel Beauty has long held a simple principle: beauty isn't about covering up, but about asserting one's presence. Something authentic, not fabricated. This is where Jungkook comes in, not as a marketing gimmick, not as a surprise card, but as a puzzle piece that's been waiting to be placed in its proper place. Jungkook has never cultivated a tough, masculine image. He doesn't project power through dominance, doesn't build charisma with a high-pitched voice, and doesn't create distance to appear authoritative. What makes him stand out is his comfort in displaying subtlety, in staring without challenging, in speaking without pressuring, in showing a soft side without losing his core strength. That's why Jungkook's Chanel Beauty visuals feel so natural. There's no overkill. There's no character he's playing. There's no forced persona. Jungkook is simply present. With a steady gaze, with unpretentious gestures, with an energy that feels mature yet grounded. And precisely in that simplicity, there's a powerful resonance, an echo that resonates with Chanel's decades-long visual language. Two silences meet. Two serenities unite. Two essences understand each other without the need for any explanation. European fashion media called it a quiet revolution, a revolution that wasn't chaotic but resonated far. Asian cultural media described it as the meeting point of two philosophies. But the most honest comments came from the public themselves, as fans wrote simple yet meaningful remarks: "He looks peaceful. His face isn't made up. This is so Jungkook." These sentences proved one thing: this wasn't a collaboration of faces. It was a collaboration of souls. The impact was greater than just a campaign. This collaboration shattered old notions of masculinity and beauty. Without declarations, without provocative slogans, Jungkook showed that being soft doesn't make someone less strong, that feelings aren't the enemy of a man's qualities, that beauty, when understood as self-expression, isn't the preserve of just one gender. He arrived with a silence that dismantled stereotypes more effectively than 1,000 loud words. A change without announcement. Behind it all, there's one interesting fact the industry recognizes: Jungkook didn't change himself for Chanel. Instead, Chanel adjusted its narrative to embrace Jungkook's full presence. And in a fashion world full of image-making and self-correction, that's one of the highest forms of respect. Why was the world so captivated? Because everyone saw something increasingly rare. They saw someone who wasn't chasing status, wasn't trying to be an icon, wasn't trying to create symbolism. Jungkook was simply being himself, and that was enough to make the world pause. Such honesty is a luxury not everyone can afford. After the world absorbed the silence left by Jungkook and Chanel Beauty's collaboration, a second wave emerged, more subtle, more introspective, but no less captivating. A phase in which the public began to look beyond visuals or campaigns, but at the subtle changes beginning to unfold behind the scenes of the industry. After the collaboration's release, visual creators, fashion journalists, trend analysts, and even art lovers began to notice a unique phenomenon. Jungkook's presence wasn't just changing the way Chanel presented beauty, it was changing the way people perceived a man's presence in the aesthetic space. Many began to ask themselves, why does Jungkook's visual feel so familiar, even though he's not doing anything? The question seems simple, but the answer is layered. That familiarity stems from a long journey the public has observed over the years, a journey that shows Jungkook as someone who has grown without losing his tenderness, who has evolved without abandoning his composure, who has expanded the definition of masculinity without abandoning his emotional side. Chanel Beauty simply became a space that gave visual form to something the world had long felt, but had never before manifested so clearly. And when the campaign was released, many brands in the industry began to feel pressure not from direct competition, but from a new standard being quietly created. The power of the Chanel x Jungkook visuals lay not in elaborate production, but in the courage to convey authenticity without the filters that limit expression. A courage that suddenly felt imperative for those wanting to stay relevant in a generation increasingly seeking sincerity over glamour. Beyond that, photographers and creative directors observing the campaign began to notice one crucial thing: Jungkook didn't fill the frame. He allowed the frame to embrace his presence. There was space around him, a stillness that was allowed to be present, a soft energy that didn't try to dominate the camera. And precisely because he didn't try to control it, the visuals felt more powerful. Chanel didn't turn Jungkook into an object. Chanel allowed him to be the calm center of gravity. The public began to see how this impacted the way modern men began to perceive themselves. There were many comments following the campaign, comments far more reflective than the usual fandom reactions. If he can be this soft, maybe it's okay if I don't act tough all the time. I don't have to look strong to be considered a man. Calmness can be more alluring than aggression. Jungkook's silence, without realizing it, has opened the door for thousands of people to reconnect with themselves. This is an effect that a campaign created solely for the sake of numbers could never achieve. And interestingly, Chanel Beauty has gained something that no marketing budget could ever buy: emotional legitimacy. Not just wow, not just cool, but trust. People see the consistency between Chanel's values and Jungkook's energy. They speak the same language, a language that doesn't force anyone to accept, but makes everyone feel it. Meanwhile, in the digital space, the conversation has begun to shift. People are no longer discussing whether Jungkook is a suitable brand ambassador. They are discussing how this collaboration will be recorded in the future. Many observers have suggested that the Chanel x Jungkook moment will one day be seen as a major shift in masculine aesthetics, much like the major changes in the fashion industry in previous eras. The difference is, this shift was not accompanied by resistance. There was no strong opposition. There was no lengthy debate. The world just accepted. This is what makes this moment so important in the long run. Chanel Beauty and Jungkook aren't setting a trend. They're setting a new standard, one where subtlety isn't at odds with power, where beauty isn't exclusive to one gender, where authenticity is the highest form of elegance. And as Top Kpop concludes this discussion, one thing becomes abundantly clear: we are witnessing something bigger than a mere visual campaign. We are witnessing the birth of a new paradigm. A shift that wasn't designed to shake the world, but has managed to touch it in ways we never expected.